Well, if you want to sell a product on the internet and when it came to setting up the campaign, you were lost, you didn't know which campaign to set up, what type of campaign to use, whether to use a sales campaign, whether to use a profile visit campaign, you didn't know what to do with the creative, or worse still, you set up the campaign, you spent money, there were no sales, and you don't know what to analyze. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what type of campaign you should create when you set up an e-commerce or any other type of business. So I'm going to show you here on my computer screen the structure I use. This is for any business, okay? I'm going to explain the types of campaign, what you should do to analyze if you're not getting results, and do it in the most assertive way possible, because if you make a lot of mistakes in your campaigns, you'll spend a lot of money and you won't get any results. So this video here is going to be a lesson. I recommend you take notes, get something on a notepad or pen and paper if you like, write down what I'm going to say here, because then when you analyze your campaign or when you upload your campaign, you'll already know what to do, okay? So this video here is going to be a bit more complete. You're going to have to pay a lot of attention to what I'm saying here. And speaking of paying attention, if you're not subscribed, subscribe now, leave a like on the channel, because here we talk about paid traffic and digital marketing. So if you like this subject, subscribe to the channel so you can learn more about it. So if you like this subject, subscribe to the channel there to strengthen us. Well guys, the first type of campaign I create in e-commerce is a profile visits campaign. Why do I create this campaign? It has a very low cost per follower. If you create a good creative, you can get profile visits for 16 cents, okay? The most I'm willing to pay for it is about 50 cents. Any more than that, the campaign is expensive. You have to change the creative. So this is an example of a campaign I have here from one of our Instagrams, which is a supplement. The cost per profile visit is $. 15 cents, which means it's very worthwhile. The creatives are the sales creatives themselves, or it could be some creative that will attract your audience. So here we've selected some creatives. Some have a cost per follower that's a little more expensive, others cheaper, okay? But this type of profile visit follower campaign, you'll gain a lot of followers for a low cost. You'll have a qualified audience to remarket to later, and you can spend as little as possible. So it's very worthwhile. Any Instagram, big or small, always creates a profile visit campaign. The second type of campaign I recommend creating is a catalog campaign with a minimum budget, with an audience of interest. You're going to put a campaign there with a minimum value of 6 to 10 reais with a catalog campaign, right? Because the catalog campaign will take a mix of your products and distribute them according to your audience. However, the catalog takes a little longer to optimize. It's like another pixel. It works together with the pixel, but it has its own intelligence. So you have to let the catalog run for at least a fortnight. So you let it run, optimizing. It can be with a lower value. If the metrics are very bad, then you pause and optimize. But otherwise, you let it run for at least 7 to 15 days because it has its own intelligence. Another type of campaign I would always create is a sales campaign with the creatives directly on Instagram. So you'll post the creatives on Instagram on Reels. And when you create the sales campaign, you won't create a new ad. You'll take the post from Instagram, because that will generate even more visits on Instagram. The post will get a lot of likes, comments, there will be a lot of engagement. This will help with both profile visits and purchase campaigns. And you can do the same thing I said. You can take 5 creatives, use all 5 on Instagram, use all 5 to gain profile visits, the same post. Then you create a catalog, and then you create a sales campaign with those same creatives that are there on Instagram. This will generate huge authority. Your Instagram will grow and you'll start making sales there. And if you don't know how to do any of this, I have my course, which is here in the description of the video. Take a look. There I teach all this in detail. Because if I were to teach this here in detail, every single thing you have to do, we'd spend 8 hours here and you wouldn't learn. So if you're interested in learning more, I'll leave the link here. Then you take a look there. Well, Ramon, beautiful. I've created all this. I've done all this, but it's not selling. What do I do? What should you look at? How should you optimize? After 3 days, what should you look at? So I always recommend leaving it for at least 3 days. You put this structure up, let it spend at least 3 days. That's why I recommend a lower amount if you don't have the money so you can test it. There's no point in spending a lot of money in the testing phase, right? You have to test with as little as possible, validate the numbers there, and then increase it. So come on, what do I look at after 3 days? Or first question, were there any sales or not? Let's go here and see. Were there any sales? Yes. Then what are you going to do? You're going to see which is the best set of ads and creatives and maybe focus on them. Why maybe? Because sometimes the other creatives can be good too. So what are you going to do? If you've validated one creative and the others are too bad on the metrics, you can pause the others. Now what can happen to one creative is also very good. You sell a lot on it and the others don't spend. You can analyze it there. If they don't spend, you can leave them active to see how their performance is going to be, okay? I'm going to show you now in practice. So this is a campaign that's having sales. I come here inside the ad set and here I'm going to see what's selling and what's not. So let's take an example here of just this campaign here. It had 7 sales. I'm going to go inside the campaign and I'm going to see the creatives if they're converting. So I can see that this creative here, it had 6 sales at 62. However, this creative had 1 sale at 32 raised cheaper. It sold, but he sold less. So there's always this question. So here, theoretically, the 2 are good. You can see that the CTR here, which is what I'm going to talk about in a moment, is 4 and the other is 3. So it's excellent. So always, if there are sales, you're always going to optimize for the best and you're always going to be testing. So now we're going to the following scenario. There were no sales. So what is the path we're going to take? First of all, how is the CTR? The CTR is the click-through rate of impressions that your ad has. That is, on Facebook, we pay to appear to people. And there's the rate of people who click on the ad. Because not everyone who sees an ad clicks on it. That's called the CTR. So an example, if 100 people saw your ad and 1 clicked on it, your CTR is 1%. So 1% of the people who see your ad click on it. So a reasonable CTR is above 1.5. 1.5 is still a bit, from 1 to 1.5 is a bit bad, but acceptable. Below 1 is very bad and above 2 is good. 3, 4 is good, 5 is excellent. So this average from 1.5 to 2.5 that we're looking for. So how is it? The CTR, we have 2 options. If you haven't sold and the CTR is high, there are some advantages and disadvantages. High CTR perhaps means good creative most of the time, of course. But high CTR, if you're having a high CTR and you're not selling, it could be that your creative is only bringing in curiosity seekers, and that's bad. You have a high CTR, but it doesn't sell because your creative isn't communicating what you're selling. So you have to be very attentive to this. If your CTR is high, you'll analyze the creative. Look at the creative again, and what will you see in it? You're going to see if when the person sees your creative, they already know exactly what they're going to get on the page when they click. So if you're selling a product, you have to specify which product it is. If it's a product, perhaps you want to put the price to filter it even more. If you think it's interesting, you can, because then whoever clicks will have already seen the price and a more qualified lead will come. It will be less clicks, but it will be a more qualified lead. So you have to be very specific in the creative. Now we have another problem. The CTR is low, then it's the creative that's bad. It may be the audience, but most of the time the low CTR is the creative that's not attracting enough attention. So you improve the quality, improve the elements. I have a video here that I teach just about creatives. You can see that I'm moving forward here in the funnel, because the sales process in paid traffic isn't just an ad. The person clicked on the ad and the sale came out. The person has to see the ad, they have to click on the ad, they have to go to the landing page, they have to click on add to cart, they have to fill in the payment information, they have to fill in the zip code information, and then the purchase. Their card is still approved, if it is, which is the payment phase or Pix paid, and then the purchase is finalized. So there's this whole stage. Sometimes if you make a mistake at one stage of this process, the sale doesn't happen here at the end. So that's what we're analyzing in a very superficial way, because there's no way to go into detail and a lot of things just inside my course. Beauty? Now what's the other phase? After people have clicked, how much is your CPC? Let's assume then that your CTR is okay, you've adjusted it. There's just that your CPC is high. Generally, a good CTR and a high CPC can be an audience that's too segmented. So see if you haven't put in too many interests, if you've shortened the age too much, if you haven't put in like only women. Then, if you've put in only women, sometimes there are too many interests and other segmentations. In other words, you've segmented too much. This makes the audience too small and the CPC gets expensive in these cases. What you can do is open up the campaign more, okay? Don't segment too much, but in general, a high CTR means a low CPC. So focus on the creative, because the creative is what really drives the campaign. So generally, a good CTR means a good CPC too. So CTR okay, CPC okay, I've analyzed it. What am I going to analyze now? Was there a checkout? In other words, it's the next step. So let's say you spent $100 on the campaign, your CTR is good, your CPC is good. Then what's the next metric I'm going to analyze if there was a checkout? If there's little checkout, there could be a few factors. The price could be high. In other words, the person liked the product but didn't buy it because the price is too high. The sales page isn't convincing. The person liked the product, thought the price was good, but the sales page isn't a page that gives confidence. It has a good description, that has a good photo, that has a testimonial. So this doesn't convince the person to buy, and they don't trust your site. Or also, the shipping may be too expensive. So sometimes you sell a product for $30, the shipping is $30, the person doesn't buy a solution. Increase the price of the product and throw in free shipping, okay? So you have to analyze all of this. The price may be high, the page isn't convincing, and the shipping is expensive. Now, if all of this is aligned, you'll certainly start to get a checkout, right? So CTR, okay? CPC, okay, everything's okay here too. Price, photo, everything's right. And he started to complete the purchase. The next step is the sale. You have to wait for the campaign to spend and then start making sales so that you can then optimize age, gender, so that you can collect information on this first step. That's what you need to do. Guys, there's no way you won't get a checkout. If the CTR is good, there's a creative that's informing you about the product. The price is good, the sales page is convincing, and the shipping isn't too expensive, you'll get a sale, right? You just have to give it a little more time to play out and see, unless there's something else that can happen here too, is the pixel, okay? This is what I'm talking about. If you have the pixel 100% round, everything installed, both on the sales page and at the checkout on your site, okay? If you don't have the pixel installed, this won't do you any good. You won't have any information. So it's these metrics that I like to analyze here. I always keep them separate. So the purchase, how much is coming back, how many checkouts. So here I'm going to give you some nice metrics for you to see. Let's take a campaign here that performed better. And another one that's still in its infancy. This one, it's a catalog. It's $73 the cost per purchase. It's a bit expensive, it's making a loss, but as I said, it's a catalog, it takes a bit longer. So I'm going to let it run for a few more days to see. It brought me $62 in conversion. The CTR could be as low as 1%, so it's a bit bad, right? Let's put it this way, 3 additions to the cart. So 3 people added to the cart, but only 1 went to the credit card checkout stage, okay? So you can see that the funnel here works, and she ended up buying, right? So this one is at a loss, let's say. Now this one down here, oh, it had more sales. It spent $4,800. It returned $1,500, $901. Look at the CTR, 4%. The CTR is much better, okay? This campaign here, it's specific to certain products. It's the direct to sale creative. That's why I say to always test. You never know which one is going to be good, which one isn't. Look, here's also a metric I can show you. Add to cart, 50 checkout initiated, which is when the person puts their credit card in there, 9. In other words, I can improve this here, okay? If I improve this, I'll certainly improve the purchases at the end. And of those 9, 7 completed the purchase, okay? 2 people who added a credit card didn't pay, so there's all this. And then I also have reporting automations that take these people, send them pics, send them calls on WhatsApp, sends an email, does everything automatically. I'll leave the link to the reporting here in the video description. Take a look. There's a need for this. If you do traffic, you've got to have automation. Well, guys, that's it in a nutshell. If you like this video, leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you want to learn all about Facebook ads, Google ads. We analyze Google ads too. You can do a lot of things. I'm going to leave the link to my full mentoring here in the video description. I don't know when it will be open, because there you have the option of having a direct conversation with me too. So I can't attend to everyone, but that's it. If you have any questions, leave them here in the comments, okay? I'll answer everyone. Stay with God's success and see you next time.